What I would be looking for if I was you is one thing. Just take one thing away from the entire conference. Hey everyone, it's Mike over at landscapebusinesscourse.com. Today we're doing a Q&A. I'm going to answer like 15 or 20 questions probably of come from Facebook. And so we're going to go ahead and jump right into that. Two things right off the bat. First of all, sorry for my sniffing and looking like my eyes are all puffy and everything. I have allergies to this time of season when the pollen's falling and everything. So I get all stuffed up and all that good stuff. Sorry about that. I'm doing just fine though, and I'll make it through. Secondarily, the conference, Landscape Summit, it's already starting to fill up, so you're definitely going to save your spot. It's coming up in January 2020, and it's going to be 3 days. If you haven't been into it already, it's just going to be a great event. Bring your manager, bring your operations person, bring your office person. I'm going to have my team on staff, my managers, my office people doing keynotes, giving talks, and we're still seeing if we're going to actually have breakout sessions for crew leaders and breakout sessions for office people, but regardless, there'll be lots of content for everybody. So bring them. We're going to try to get some buses to take us over and do a tour of Augusta Lawn Care, my facility, and it's going to be really, really awesome. You get to learn, meet a bunch of people, and it'll be jam-packed full of learning. We don't do a bunch of advertising. I'm not trying to sell stuff there. There's not going to be other people trying to sell stuff there. There's not a trade show. It's just straight learning, and it's all about business. We're going to talk very little about equipment or anything like that. It's marketing, it's hiring, it's systems, it's procedures, it's building, it's scaling, it's planning. It's really the groundwork for your business. And so it includes meals for breakfast and lunch on the Friday and the Saturday. You come in Thursday, and we have that evening, and then all of Friday, all of Saturday. So it's gonna be a great, great event. It's a lot of learning. It's a long, it's a marathon of learning. But I think it's gonna be life-changing for some people and definitely changing their business. So check that out. Go to landscapebusinesscourse.com/conference and make sure you sign up today. So let's go ahead and jump right into these questions, and I'll just go right through them. I haven't read any of these yet, but yesterday I posted on the Landscape Business Course group. If you're not a part of it, make sure you join the group on Facebook, and that way I can get your questions. So Andrew Martin asked a question. First off, he says, marketing towards more landscape construction with established lawn companies. For example, dirt work, retaining walls, sod, patios. Also, how to cut expenses without cutting quality or needed tools. Okay, so there's two questions here. And Andrew Martin asks, marketing towards more landscape construction for established lawn companies. Okay, so it sounds like you've been an established lawn care company, and now you're wanting to market towards more of the landscape construction. And the key word here is established lawn care company. I feel like a lot of new lawn care companies, 1, 2, 3, 4 years old, they're chasing the next shiny thing. They're chasing the more glamorous thing of landscape construction with the bigger equipment, cooler projects, and I find, and in a lot of times they think better customers, better paying customers, and a lot of times if they can't figure out lawn care maintenance, landscape construction is just a bigger headache. Like if you have little problems and it's annoying for lawn care maintenance, if you try to go take your business and make it into big landscaping jobs, you basically just magnify the size of the problems. Like if you have employee problems, you're going to have more employee problems. If you have cash flow problems, you're going to have more cash flow problems. If you have quality control problem, you're going to have bigger quality control problem, and this time it's going to be on a $40,000 patio instead of a $40 per mow lawn. So my advice in terms of marketing, you might want to do a brand change, lawn and landscape instead of just lawn care. We have specifically stayed with lawn care services because we do not want to get into massive design build because the labor is too specialized. It's too hard to find people that will do that at a decent rate. In this labor market, it's very difficult if people leave. And you'd be amazed at how we still get a lot of landscaping projects, even though we're called lawn care services with an S. So I think the naming of your business does have something to do with it. I see more and more people that want to transition to landscaping. They'll go from like Bob's Lawn Care to Bob's Landscapes. And it just is, again, just a terminology aspect. It comes down to what so to answer your question, Andrew, someone that's wanting to pivot, even if you don't change your name, the pictures and videos in the media you have on your website and your social media really indicates what type of work you do. And so if you have a whole bunch of walls and patios and landscaping jobs that you've done on your website, on your social media, on the newsletter emails that you send out, if you have those, then they're going to start thinking about you more in terms of a full-service landscaping company instead of just mowing. And vice versa. If you're wanting to go the other way and you're wanting to go from landscaping to mowing, same thing. Change maybe your slogan, change maybe some of the pictures and videos that you have on your website, and you will change your image to the type of services that you want to provide. Andrew then went on to ask also how to cut expenses without cutting quality or needed tools. So when it comes to cutting expenses, outside of needless expenses like food, like lunch, having lunch out and spending $20 every single day, outside of just dumb expenses, the next expense category I look at is labor, because it's one of our biggest expenses as a service-based business if you have employees. And so that's the first place I'm looking to improve and not cut, not like reduce their hours, reduce their dollars that we pay them. It's more about efficiency. And so how can I make them more efficient, thereby produce more labor for the same amount of dollars that I spend? And so first thing I would do instead of cutting quality or needed tools is to increase efficiencies. Terry Neely asks, when will I start to see any money? LOL. So, okay. The next one, Robin Snow asks, team member inconsistent performance. I would like to help them improve if possible. So training is a big part of this. Training is one of those things that's very difficult in our industry because we don't know how long people are going to be with us, and it's very hard to invest a whole bunch in training when you don't think they're going to be around for very long. So there's this balance of, do you hire people that don't have much experience in the industry and you train them a bunch and maybe get them at a lower dollar per hour rate, easier to find, and you train them, or B, you go out and try to find people who are experienced in our industry, but they can hit the ground running, you don't have to train them very much, and if they leave in 3 months, you've actually produced money from them and not just barely got them to the point where they can start mowing lawns. And so it really depends on your market, depends on your labor market. Honestly, this one, in my opinion, a big amount. If you want to see them improve and they're having inconsistent results, I would really pair them up with somebody that is having consistent results, is more experienced than them, and is going to be able to watch over them so that they don't mess anything up on their off days. But then can also point them in the right direction, give them tips, tricks. And so the people in your team that are really, really good and are kind of the standard bearers and the ones that kind of set the benchmarks for everyone, those are really important people. You want to make sure you know them very well, because they're going to be the people that you put your lower performers or people who are not doing very well, or like Robin mentioned, an inconsistent performing team member, you're going to put it with that individual. And so if you're going to want to help them, I would say, number one, can you train them? Number two, can you have them with someone else that's going to have consistent results and is going to help them, basically training, but more almost a mentoring position. And then next thing I would say is, if you can, try to incentivize them in some way, not just money, but incentivize them in ways, to get creative about ways to incentivize them to be more consistent, whether that be tracking, get the yellow slip system and doing that, or whether it be giving them a certain truck and trailer if they don't get any yellow slips, or if they don't do any damage cases. A lot of times this time of year, damage case is a big deal. It is for us. It is for everyone that has employees, people breaking things. How can you incentivize them to not do those things? That would be the 3 things I would say. Ismail asks, I need some recommendation on systems to run my business when one gets hurt. I had a big injury 2 years ago and learned some things, but I feel I could use your help and input. Thanks. So this is a good question. This is really what spurred me to make landscapebusinesscourse.com. I don't know if I've ever said this, but it was about 3.5 years ago, I want to say, 2.5 years ago, August 4th, 2016, that I got hurt myself. I got stuck underneath the dump truck with a PTO, grabbed the back of my hoodie, strangled me, had to go to the hospital. And in that moment, like for a few weeks, I couldn't really work. And that's when I really realized that I needed to build systems for my business. And luckily, I had great people to keep the business going and everything was fine. But systems and procedures are what will run your business when you do get hurt, or when you do have to go on a family vacation, or when you do have a family emergency. And so how to do that, how to make those systems and how to make those procedures, that is a very long discussion. Every single aspect of the business has systems, has procedures, and it's one of those things that I've been thinking about a ton recently because of Augusta and the franchising and trying to create those systems and actually put words to the systems. Like it's difficult on some of these things to create systems around certain aspects of the business. And I've actually this is going to come from left field, but like I've actually found in the process of creating the systems for Augusta Lawn Care and the franchise and actually verbalizing and putting into words the systems that we've created, I found that reporting, this is going to come from left field for some people, but reporting is a big part of really being able to have systems and procedures. Because how can you know if a system or procedure is effective if you're not tracking the reports and you're not tracking numbers? And so with the Augusta franchise, like we're really pushing daily, weekly, and monthly reporting and really knowing everything from profitability to revenue to labor burden to percentage close of estimates, like knowing all these numbers on a day-by-day basis so that you can test the system, figure out how it makes any changes to those key performance indicators, and then continue to improve, and whether you alter the system and the procedure. And so that's something I've been thinking about a lot recently. And in terms of getting hurt, it's definitely something that you can't do once you get hurt. You can't create systems and procedures and a great business that runs well without you once you're hurt. It's something that you got to do now, and God forbid something does happen to you, the business is ready for it and can continue running without you. Rudolfo Lopez says, I remember you speaking about selling 9 applications of fertilizer. I've been able to sell 4, but how do you go about persuading them to 9, and what are the different types of applications you sell them? Yeah, so we have 2 different treatment packages that we upsell our lawn care customers and our mowing customers for. One, first of all, you just want to give them 2 or 3 options. So we decided to do 2. One's called the basic package. That's the 4 treatments a year. And the other one's called the premium package. And when we give them a 9 and a 4, like that includes core aeration and thatching. So it's not necessarily 9 fertilizations. And so it's going to depend on your climate in terms of what fertilizations you do, whether that be a weed and feed, moss control, lime treatment, grub control. I'm just trying to think of the other ones that we do. Just like a general 16, 16, 16. Like depending on your climate and your demographic, your geographic, is going to depend on what you actually implement in those applications. But basically, how we kind of pitch it is that the basic package will keep your lawn green and kind of keep it okay, and keeping it up to, like, it won't allow the weeds to overrun everything. It's going to just kind of keep it where it's at now, keep it healthy. The 9 visit program is going to be like, it's going to look perfect and it's going to look amazing. And so that's kind of how we sell it. And the different types of applications are going to just vary depending on your market. Hunter Boone Davis asks, how to calculate your overhead accurately and what all needs to be overhead. So some people have different ideas on what overhead is in the lawn care industry. For me, if it doesn't produce income out in the field, it's considered overhead. So labor, for example, some people would say that, overhead is, labor is not overhead. Well, if they're an office person, in my mind, they're overhead because they're not producing any income for the business. So in my mind, overhead is anything that has a fixed expense, like rent, insurance, all those things. They're fixed expenses that aren't going to change regardless of whether or not you do business tomorrow, as well as labor in the office. So those are kind of a very generalization, but overhead is basically anything that's not producing the work. And so the biggest expense that's non-overhead and not overhead is labor production, like production for labor hours. And so in terms of determining your overhead, I'd really recommend LMN. Use their free budgeting software. You can put all your numbers in there, and it gives you $1 per hour that you need to recover for overhead. And so it's really valuable for when you're budgeting and when you're doing your man hour rate, and figuring out what that is knowing that, okay, is it like 10, 20, 15? What is that dollar amount every hour that you need to recoup just to pay your office staff, pay for the truck insurance, pay for maintenance, like all those other overhead costs that are a part of your business. Gerardo Hernandez asks, on average, how long does it take to get out of the field? This really comes down to personal preference. And for some people, and I know I talk so much, like I've said on the other podcasts and things about how you want to get to $1 million in revenue. For some people, they do not want to, and that's totally fine, and they should stay solo. So to get out of the field, maybe you have 2 or 3 employees and you stay with them kind of working. You have 2 or 3 trucks, you have a few employees, and you still stay out working out in the field, and then like your spouse or a friend might do the office work for you part-time or something. That's totally cool. Like you got to build the business you want. For some people, having 15, 20 employees and 10, 20 trucks is going to make them completely like stressed out. And so I've been lucky enough to build a great business that has great people. And so like right now, as I'm recording this, it's in the middle of the day and they're working. And this is where I was able to slot in some time. So, and everything's going to go fine. Like my phone's not, ringing like crazy from them or anything. Like they have it under control. And so that's the business I wanted to create. And it took me, 4 or 5 years to do that. And now there's, 9, 10 crews and 3, 4 people in the office at all times. And so, that's the business I wanted to create. And it's not necessarily the right business. It's not necessarily even the most profitable business. There's other models that work, and that might be you in a truck with some guy, and then 2 other employees. And so you have 3 employees, 2 trucks, and you can literally still make great money. But how long does it on average to get out of the field? I've seen it range anywhere from 4 to 6 years if that's their goal from day one. And again, it really just depends on what type of services you're providing, how much upfront capital you have. Like if you have a couple $100,000 to go buy a bunch of trucks, lose money for a couple of years by hiring people and figuring things out, like you can be out of the field day one with a few employees. Like for me, I was out of the field completely after 3 years, in terms of like doing the work, completely out. And then this year I'm getting out of estimates, and I'm not really, there as much, and I'm doing this sort of thing. So in terms of timing, I would say 4 to 6 years if you're really dedicated to getting it done. I did it sooner simply because there was money that I was making. I can make money doing this. And so thereby I'm able to take money and give it back to the company, or not take as much money out of the business because I have other money coming in and I have a gym and things like that. And so by being out of the business, you are going to leave money on the table from that business. And so in terms of getting out of the working field, I see 4 to 6 years. And then 5 to 8 years if you're actually wanting to get out of estimates. But again, completely dependent on the scale, how fast you want to grow, how much money you're willing to spend, and also how good of employees you get for those management positions. So, Nuno Paveo asks, how to start putting a system in place. This is a very broad question. Number one, you got to identify what the problem is. Like, okay, we are having a problem with complaints. Let's create a system that fixes that. And so that might be the yellow slip system. That might be an incentive program that you take money out of a pool of cash that is dispersed to to the employees if there's still money left over at the end of the year. Like there's so many things you can do. How to put a system in place, you got to recognize the problem in my mind first, and then create a system that fixes it. And so whenever someone comes or we're having a big issue at Augusta, it's okay, what system? It's not about like, let's try not to get too wrapped up in the problem. Like it's easy. Any of your employees can do that. Anybody in the world can get wrapped up in problems and issues and what's going wrong. It's how do we think creatively to make a solution for the problem and then create a system that enforces the solution. So that's kind of how I think about it. Jose Covabea, sorry guys. Jose asks, how do you keep new work coming after June? Oh, good question. What services do you target this time of year? So Jose, this is kind of how we've broken it down. During the spring months, we're just focused 100% on recurring maintenance revenue, so mowing and those types of services. That's what we're selling that. Most of our crew is focused on that. We have landscaping, we're doing cleanups and all that stuff year round, but we're focused primarily on recurring revenue and setting up mowing customers. Come this time of year, as we hit June, July, August, getting hot, mowing slows down a little bit, and not so much slows down as much as it speeds up. Like guys can get the jobs done a lot faster, and so there's more labor to go expend at other jobs. So basically what we do in the summer is we focus more on project-based work. And so that being said, if you don't do landscaping, there's other things you can do in terms of focusing on figuring out route density. That'd be a big one I'd be focused on if you're just doing mowing. If you're just a mow, blow, and go, like during the summer is when you want to focus on like things like route density and really focusing on efficiencies and things. Whereas if you have the capability to do property cleanups, bush trimming, even just weeding in general, that's the time to focus on it is in the summer. So we will be focused on getting new mowing customers during the spring, but we're booking landscaping jobs deep into the summer. And so it's nice to know too when you know you've booked out 4 or 6 weeks of landscaping jobs, to know that you're going to be able to keep your crew busy when the mowing does. There's less mowing to be done in the June, July, August months. And so I'd really encourage you, if you aren't just doing mowing, try to figure out ways to do cleanups. And that could just be trimming back bushes, weeding, and edging. Like literally those things will keep you busy, just property cleanups, overgrown houses, going to realtors, going by houses that are overgrown and just asking them if they want to clean up, especially if it's in a nice neighborhood. And if it's overgrown and looking bad, either contact the real estate agent that it's for sale or go up to the house and just knock on the door. You'd be amazed at how much work you can get. And so I just get really creative during those slow times during the summer. During the summer is like, it's different than the winter, because in the winter, they do not need your services. Like there's nothing growing. In the middle of summer, their stuff's still growing. Like if it's overgrown, it's still growing. And the grass is still growing, the trees are still growing. And so there's a huge opportunity to go after those properties that are overgrown. Even if you're not doing project-based work like walls and patios and things like that, there's still tons of work if you go out and get creative about it. Marcus Love. Oh, fun. This is not a question for me. How do you keep personal life and business life balance? Also, what do you try to capitalize on marketing-wise in the middle of summer? So I answered the second question. How do you keep personal life and business life balance? So I'm not very good at doing that. For me personally, I'm not really good at balance, personal and business. I just kind of live my life, and sometimes I'm like 100% business. Sometimes I'm like focused more on personal side of things, whether it's personal like family, church, working out, physical side of things. I don't think a lot about balance, honestly. What keeps me centered as a person is probably working out every day and then praying every day, from a spiritual aspect and then a physical working out exercise standpoint. Like if I don't do those things, I'd be a wreck within a week. And it kind of allows me I don't sleep a ton. I try to stay as productive as I possibly can. I'm always trying to be more efficient, and I kind of have to do that to run the businesses and be thinking forward. And the franchise now is taking a lot of my time developing the systems and stuff and putting those all in writing and legal things and all that. So I'm always trying to take on new stuff too. And so I stay busy, and there's not a lot of balance in that. And that's fine for me. I like that. I wouldn't like doing the same thing every day. And when I get into the pattern of having to do the same thing every day for months and years on end, I get kind of agitated. And so I'm always looking for new stuff. I'm always looking to make things better. I'm always looking to grow and expand. And so, I don't think a lot about balance. To be honest, that will change once if I get married, if I have kids, like that all changes. And I'm just not in that position in life right now, so I'm probably not the best person to answer that question. But I do understand that I'm in a different place than most people in terms of I don't have a family, I don't have a spouse, so like I can work 20 hours a day, and that's fine, and enjoy it, and that's fine. You can't do that day in and day out if you have a family. Like, it's just not going to work. And to me, family is more important. To me, health is more important than business. And, my spirituality is more important than my business. And so there's going to come times, there's ebbs and flows, and there's times in life when you do more business, you do less business. And for me, I don't think about a balance a lot. I just think about what feels right in the moment. And for me right now, I can focus a lot on the business side of things because I don't have a family, and they would take preeminence over the business if and when that time comes. So, Kevin Fairburn asked a question. Is Service Autopilot really worth the money? Does it make that much difference? Why? So, to answer this question, I know a lot of people who even started listening to Landscape Business Course, heard a video I made about the different types of software out there and my recommendations. And my recommendations are pretty straightforward. If you're just starting out, and you're making less than $50,000 a month, I take a look at Lawn Pro, lawnprosoftware.com. If you're making less than like $200,000 a month or $200,000 a year, like Lawn Pro is probably sufficient for you. If you're making over $200,000 a year, Service Autopilot starts becoming something you want to look at. It is expensive, especially if you're in like that $200,000-$300,000 a year range. It's expensive because it has great functionality, but you have to pay for each of those things, and so you do end up spending yes, the starting package is only like $49, but that's without automations. It's without a client portal. That would be without QuickBooks Sync. That would be without employee user mobile, the mobile app portion. So we spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars every month. We spent, I don't know, I think we spent up to $800 a month before on Service Autopilot. And I know we're up right now like $500-$600. And so it's not cheap. Is it worth it? Yes. If you have the scale, it is worth it for the automations. Automations is really the secret sauce of Service Autopilot. It's what they've been building for years and is really powerful. Really like it. That being said, Lawn Pro has automations as well. It's just not as sleek and highly sophisticated and specialized as Service Autopilot, but they do have rudimentary automations that will send people emails after their estimate was sent and all those sort of things. So it's actually, I check out Lawn Pro. The reason I don't have a lot of experience with Lawn Pro is because I haven't used it for the past 3 years, but I know they have added those rudimentary automations in there, and so it's something I'd look at. And it's literally super cheap. I think it's $250 and you get full-time access to it. So it's super cheap, Lawn Pro, but Service Autopilot is great. If you're going to scale, if you're going to go to $1 million plus, you want to have the software that's going to back you up to do so. And I would recommend getting Service Autopilot, and I would only recommend it because that's what I use, and I can't recommend anything else at this moment because I haven't actually dug my teeth into it. I've looked at LMN, I've used them a little bit, but from a full service package standpoint, I like Service Autopilot. It is expensive, and if you're over $200,000, it starts to become. And I've talked to the CEO, Jonathan Potoshnik, and he said that is where their sweet spot is. Once people hit $250,000 plus in revenue, that's when people start buying into Service Autopilot. Paul West asked a question. You mentioned Augusta might be eliminating some services in the near future. Which ones and why? Also, do you recommend any podcasts or audiobooks? So, Paul, yeah, we are eliminating services, even though this year we'll still grow in revenue probably by 25%, I want to say, year over year since 2018. In doing so, we will still have cut out services. So we'll trim out where we've stopped doing artificial putting greens. We stopped doing deliveries of material. And so those things were big chunks of revenue. They just weren't super profitable as much as the other services that we focused on now. And so even though our gross revenue this year will grow, we are cutting services out, which is great. When I look at that, I think it's the dream, because that means you're becoming really profitable. And so that's what we're doing. And why are we doing that? Because I want to get where I don't need specialized labor. I want to get where I don't have to have specialized drivers for the delivery aspect of things. And it simplifies scheduling by taking out the deliveries. That's why we took that one out. And then for putting greens, like I said, just specialized labor, hard to find, hard to train people to get really good at it. And in our market, it's not the biggest thing because our housing market and our housing values don't really support installing $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 putting greens. We did it, and it just wasn't enough of a demand. Not so much that. Like, I think we could have sold it. It's more the fact of having to hire specialized labor that knows what they're doing and training them really well, and that's harder to scale versus mowing, landscaping, and property cleanups and the things that we're focusing on now. In terms of audiobooks, let me think. Oh yeah, Profit First, the contractor one. So Profit First, Michael Michalowicz, most people have heard of that one, but there's another one that his contractor actually wrote that is not written by Michael Michalowicz. It's written by his contractor, but it implements PFC, Profit First for contractors types of things. So it's just a little more tailored to our industry. It is a good read. I did like it. Another one I was listening to was, I'm trying to think. It's coming. I listened to Elon Musk's biography, but there was one before that. Here, give me 1 second. I'll give you one more. It's coming. It was, come on, Audible. Loading up. I will tell you in just a second here. So yeah, Profit First was the last one I was looking at. The automatic customer, creating a subscription type business, the magic of thinking big. Those are the last few that I've read. I have kind of been off of audiobooks for a while. I've just been really busy. But yeah, any podcasts. I always like, what's it called? How I Built It. By, I think it's NPR. No, it's not. I forget who made it. Sorry. How I Built It is a great podcast. It takes on some of the biggest businesses that have become successful, and they tell their story over the course of an hour. And I really like it. Really, really like it. How I Built It. Anyways, let's move on. Paul West asked, you mentioned one of the best things to advance a company is to be putting out content. How do you do that if you, A, hate being in front of a camera, B, don't have time to even get your work done, let alone learn how to edit videos or be posting to Insta or Facebook. C, your crews are extremely against being on camera or having anything to do with it. Is it worth it to drop a few clients to have the time to deal with it? So it's becoming easier and easier to not have to take time. Like literally you can go on Facebook Live and just show everyone your project when you're done. You could be mowing a lawn and just go on Instagram and snap a photo. Like, it's super fast. Don't overcomplicate it. It doesn't take more than a couple minutes, and honestly, sometimes less than that if you're just doing things live. And in terms of video editing, don't worry about it. Just do video on your phone and don't do editing. Just if you have a project you like it, do a 2-minute walk around of it, and that's it. If you have an iPhone, iMovie's on there. There are other applications that are super easy to edit, but you don't even need to do that. Like, literally, just use your phone, and you'll be fine. Like, if it's something is much better than nothing when it comes to media, and so videos, pictures, and stuff, like, you don't need a DSLR, you don't need a GoPro, you don't need the drone. Like, I know a lot of you looked at my stuff and like, oh, you have a drone, and you have all these nice pictures and things. Yes. We invested in a camera, we invested in a GoPro, we invested in a drone, and I use that for the podcast and other stuff. But you don't need to. Like, I didn't start doing that. I just started using my, back in the day, iPhone 5. So take pictures, take videos on your phone, upload them fast, be quick. Speed is greater than perfection. And so pictures and video from here is fine. In terms of not having time, that takes care of that. If you hate being in front of the camera, Don't be in front of the camera. Be behind the camera and just create content around your landscaping project and around the work that you do and around your employees and what your team is trying to do. And you don't have to be the face. You can be behind the camera and be the producer. And so just make your landscaping, the projects and the work that you do kind of the highlight instead of you as a personality. In terms of your crew not wanting to do it and they're extremely against being on camera, you might have the wrong people. Because they need to understand that you doing that is going to lead to more business, and more business is going to lead to more opportunities for them, and so they should be okay with it. Like, I get it. Some guys don't want to be on camera. We make it very clear during our hiring process that everything they say, do will be caught on camera probably. It could be recorded. It could be published on YouTube. And I go right through it. And so they're always pretty good. They're okay with getting mic'd and things if needs be. And of course, though, there is some of them that don't really like it, and you can tell, but we made it very clear that that's part of the job, and they know why. And so the reason they don't gripe about it is probably because they know that it's going to lead to more business, it's going to lead to more opportunities, it's going to lead to us getting closer to our mission, and so thereby that will give them better opportunities and better areas to improve and advance in their career, and so they go along with it. So, Keenan McGinnis, switching residential mowing clients from pay per to a contract, lump sum up front. A lot of our clients are older and won't do a credit card on file. How would you go about making the switch without losing the lion's share of your clients, or just accept that many will go and market to a demographic that would be willing to pay up front? So for residential mowing, it's very rare to find someone that wants to pay up front for the entire year. That's rare. What you could do is just have them build them up front each month. So May 1st rolls around, you charge them $120 a month to mow their lawn 3 times, and they pay it May 1st, and then you mow it on the 7th, the 14th, and the 21st, just for example. So it's very hard to switch residential from pay per to like lump sum at the beginning of the year. That's very, very difficult. That works if you are wanting to be solo and you're okay with like 20 or 30 clients. You can have great cash flow because you get all the money up front. Or you should, as long as you save it correctly over the course of the year. Great for that, but it's very hard to scale that. Like, most people are not going to want to pay up front $3,000, $4,000 for their year long of mowing. It just doesn't scale very often. I would focus more on upfront paying for monthly. That's more interesting. That's something that we're focused on with the franchise, is to help with cash flow, because people do it for everything else. They pay for their rent up front, like the month before. They pay for the cable the month before. They pay for everything before. And so it's something that we are interested in. And you say a lot of your clients don't have a credit card. So again, I would just switch them to billing, still bill them monthly, but bill them on the 1st for the services that are going to be rendered throughout the rest of that month. Just an idea. Will Vanderhoven. This is my last one. Will Vanderhoven, what does your system look like as it pertains to employee buy-in, morale, and a positive culture? It's very hard to create a system around this, Will. What does your system look like as it pertains to employee buy-in, morale, and a positive culture? I think a culture is most of the time a result of the owner's general being. So like if you're a positive person, happy person, a lot of times your culture and the morale of your business tends to be that direction. That's not always a positive thing, because it can go happy-go-lucky, and then people start breaking things, and it should be expected that it's just like, oh, it's still happy-go-lucky. So there's that balance of being like friendly, happy, nice, and then like there's rules, there's regulations, and there's policies that we like strictly abide by. And I don't necessarily say I'm the best at this, but I would say in terms of employee buy-in, so you mentioned 3 things: buy-in, morale, and a positive culture. In terms of employee buy-in, you got to have a mission that's really cool that involves them, whether that be growing to a certain size in your market, or taking over certain market share, or getting involved in certain types of services. Whatever it is, some sort of mission, something that you guys are trying to do, get buy-in to that, even if it's literally just like to have 0 complaints this month, like a mission, something that they can go after. That's buy-in. In terms of morale and a positive culture, I think a lot of it comes down to you as the owner. I know the morale of our company decreases when I am in a funk or am discouraged about something or like trying to figure something out and thereby moody. Like I know it affects the morale. And so the number one thing I would say for you to affect the morale of the business and the morale of your employees is to make sure that you're on top of your game and you're showing up early and you are ready for the day and you come prepared and you are excited about the day and you are positive, thinking about positive things even when it's hot or whatever, the weather's horrible, that you're positive. Even though, yes, maybe you're not working out in the field, maybe you are somewhat isolated from the crew, but still, as the leader and the founder, you drive a lot of the morale, and in my mind, a lot of the culture stems from the founder. And then as you grow, obviously your management becomes a bigger part of that, and then that's what you, as the founder, you manage the managers, right? Like you manage them to make sure the culture is the way you want. And so, but in a smaller setting where you're there every day and you're communicating with the crews every day before they go out in the field, very big part of it is your morale and the way you woke up that day and the way you feel prepared. And so I'd really focus on you making sure you have breakfast and you had a shower and you came ready and you were prepared. And if you do meditation or prayer or whatever in the morning, like you're ready to go and you're there 100% all in and you're positive, even though like circumstances dictate otherwise, and you're looking for solutions and you're giving away moments of appreciation instead of tearing people down, and you're trying to like give positive reinforcement instead of always judging people. And so those are the sort of things I'd be looking for, the ways that you can actually affect. Like those are the things you can do, and I don't like to think about trying to change the things I can't even affect. There's just some things you're not going to be able to change, addictions and things like that of people's lives. Like you're not going to change those things a lot of times, but you can change you, and you can change what you do to the business and what your effect to the culture is. And if you make sure that's 100%, that's superior, I feel a lot of times they will bring up their game. Oh, oops, sorry, I missed one. Dan. Oh, this is about Augusta. Oh, about the franchise. So, yeah, so the franchise, so if you're interested in Augusta, the franchise, I know I mentioned this one time before, just go to AugustaLawnCareServices.com/franchise, and there's a little form. So Dan, you're interested, just go to that link and then fill out the form. I'm not going to send you a bunch of emails or information. It's just to put you on the list, and we're only looking for 10 franchisees to start this next spring. Like basically we're able to start selling franchises in August of this year. And like, cause we're all kind of getting everything set up right now. So in August, we're able to start selling them, and we're looking for 10 people that will start next January as franchisees. And so if you want to join the list, basically what'll happen is come August, I'll get on a webinar with everyone on that list and go in deep detail about, costs, opportunities, the systems that we're giving, what we provide, all of those things, and then people can make the decision. We're looking for only 10 people, and I'm going to be pretty picky about the first 10 because I'm going to be like hands-on trenches. I'm literally going to get a van so I can travel the country and make sure I'm very high touch with the first 50 franchisees because I'm building this thing. I'm not building this to have 10 franchisees. I'm building this to have hundreds, and it for to be the place where people like start their landscaping career, and it's the place you want to be at to actually create a scalable business. And so everything from the way we've set up the franchise fees to the cost of entry, everything is set up to get as many people started as possible and be as lean as possible, and really incentivize people to grow their business. That's why we didn't do a royalty structure. We're just doing a straight flat fee. I made sure the first year is like $500 a month. So that way you actually have money to grow your business. And then it just goes to, I think it's $1,200 a month, and that's in perpetuity. Like if you have a $200,000 a month business, you're still going to pay the $1,200 a month. And so you get the website for that. You get all the development on the back end for the website and the leads and all the funnels. You get all the documentations. You get contracts, and you get all the reporting that I just talked about, like the daily, weekly, monthly thing. You get a coach that would talk to you, which at first would be me for those first 10 people, and would coach you through every month what your reporting is. And like I said, those first 50 people, I'm going to know you so intimately, I'm going to come to every single location. And like I said, next spring, I am getting a van and I am going to travel the country going from franchisee to franchisee. I'm going to make them successful. If I have to go out and mow lawns myself, I'm going to do it. And so, because I know if I can get the first 10 especially successful, the story will it'll spread itself. And I genuinely believe it's the best way to grow a business, by taking the systems that we're giving and then making it to where it's not charging royalties and we're not taking out people's marketing fund. I truly believe the marketing should be spent on the franchisee level. And so I've come to these conclusions for the franchise based upon lots of conversations with people who are Spring Green, the grounds guys, US Lawns, the Weed Man, all these different franchises in our industry. And I've really pared down what it needs to look like to be scalable, keep the franchisees invested instead of just like, oh, I know the systems now. Why am I paying this person all this money? Like all of those things. And so kind of put that all together along with the experience I've had from Anytime Fitness and the franchisees there of a massive global brand that has 4,500 plus locations. And so trying to put that all together, the systems are basically done. We finished the operations manual. We pretty much finished the FDD, the franchise disclosure document. So everything's kind of coming together. In August, we'll actually sell franchises. But if you're interested and you just want to hear more information once we are able to, just go to Augusta, that's AUGUSTA, AugustaLawnCareServices.com/franchise, and just fill the form in. There's no more information there. Just fill the form in, and then in the webinar and later on, I'll share more information. And yeah, you'll get it's just so much support that I wish I had right from the get-go. Because when I first started, I was charging $40 per man hour out in the field. Now we charge $60 minimum, up to $80 per hour, depending on what we're doing. And that's only because of the systems and the professionalism and the efficiencies that we've created. I want to give that to people right from the get-go. So that instead of charging $40 from the get-go, they can charge $65, $70 an hour. And that pays for the incremental amount that the franchisor, we need to run the back end and have the professional website. Like from day one, they're going to have an elite website. That's going to put you leagues above 95% of your competition on day one. And when you join the franchise, you get all the SEO of a massive website, and you're going to be on the first page. And so it's going to be big. It's going to be great. I really look forward to it. I'm super invested in it. It's all I really think about at night in terms of when I'm working now. It's just all consuming. Now it's kind of a waiting game, waiting for trademarks to go through, waiting for everything to happen. But come August, we're going to be full force, and I'm going to be like super involved in it. And I truly believe it's the best thing for someone starting, and it's something for someone to really consider if they're running a business right now in the lawn care industry and they're not making profit and they just feel like they're spinning the wheels. They can revert over to our brand. It's going to be a little more difficult. It's hard to kind of train someone that's been doing things differently, but it's a very easy system. It's very simple. You're not going to have the glamorous trucks or the big shops. Like, it's not going to be glamorous. It's going to be about making money, and it's going to be about profitability. It's about making a business that can run without you, have systems, procedures, and is super scalable. And just really simplifying every aspect of the business and taking out so many complexities that people add to the lawn care and landscaping that I've added to our business because of just wanting to serve all customers and do all services and serve all markets. And when it does not have to be that way. It can be very scalable. It can be very repeatable. It can be very predictable in terms of how much money you make per person and how much money you make per truck, and like when to get the next one based upon it's a very simple model that we're trying to create. And I just really look forward to what it's going to do for our industry. And long term, I know it's going to be the thing that allows me to have some say in the industry of, whether it be from a cultural standpoint and the level of professionalism in this industry. It's going to give me the voice that I need to impose sort of what needs to change in this industry to get us to the next level, to accept new changes in technology in this industry, to make contractors in this industry more profitable. And I really look forward to it. So that's it for today. Hopefully you got something out of the questions and answers. If you have more questions, just join the group, Landscape Business Course group on Facebook, and I'd be happy to answer any and all your questions next time. Thanks so much.